how do you open up the conversation about mental health with your bros who don't ever talk about it? Here are some easy ways. I'm here with Jack Liang.
What's up, guys? Happy to be here again. I'm glad we're having this conversation. I feel like it's so needed.
Yeah, and we're two bros here, and obviously, I have my actual bro and everything, and it's just conversation about like mental health. Obviously, like the way I want to talk about it is on a very relatable, mainstream level. Like, so we're just here in this video trying to break down some easier ways that you can open up the conversation to check in on someone without it feeling intimidating, without it feeling like an interview, without it feeling like you're trying to put the spotlight on them, without it feeling too sensitive.
Too uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like a little bit uncomfortable is okay, but yeah, not too uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. And these are phrases or things that, we would do. And, this kind of is a topic that I want to touch on more. I recently got invited to Washington University in St. Louis. Shout out to them. The students brought me out, and I had gave my perspective on Asian American mental health. Even though I'm not an expert, I'm just someone who's thought about it a lot. And Jack, obviously, I'm going to show some pictures. You're very much in this space of mental wellness and meditation and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, I've been doing this since 2018. I felt like in order for me to develop as a man in my career, I had to learn how to have challenging conversations, to confront things, and just never really knew how to do that.
Yeah. Well, here are 10 good casual phrases that you can say to another bro who you never talk about mental health with, but you can kind of start the conversation and check in on them. Checking in on friends, I think, is an important thing to do. I think you don't always have to use all these big words. You don't even have to use the word mental health. You can use any other word but mental health, but this is essentially what it's addressing, all right?
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Like, phrase number one, I feel like just something easy that maybe a lot of bros actually don't even do amongst themselves. It's just like, yo, man, how's life? How are you doing? Or if they got something new going on in their life, like you're literally asking like, hey, how do you like what you're doing?
Yeah. Do you enjoy what you're doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can even open up yourself, right?
Right. So if they're like, yeah, it's cool, and I feel like it's not really an invitation for them to go a little bit deeper. They're going to be like, how about you? And then you just give a little bit more detailed answer that is sharing some sort of vulnerability, because that is the invitation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm talking about specific phrases is because sometimes literally people don't know what to say to their friends.
Right.
They're like, how do I bring this up without it sounding like I'm trying to like prod and that they got a problem? Point number two is just like, hey, man, I like this one that we heard is you've been kind of quiet lately. Like, is everything cool?
Yeah.
So you're using words like cool instead of like, hey, bro, I care about you. You don't even have to say that. You can say, hey, I noticed you've been kind of quiet lately. Like, is everything cool with you?
Yeah, you haven't been posting lately. Just it's a nice way to just check up on people.
Yeah. Or here's another phrase. Hey, man, I'm just looking out for you. I'm just looking out for you is basically AKA I'm thinking and caring about you, but it sounds like more bro-ish. Like, you don't have to be I care about you, man.
Right. Like maybe put something like, I noticed, you've been eating more, smoking more, drinking more. I'm just, and then follow up with a question.
Yeah. Like, I like the word looking out for, because that's what you do for teammates, like I'm looking out for you. Like, it's very that teammate love, which I feel like a lot of guys can bond over, because a lot of guys, they kind of look at things either in a militaristic way or in a team sport way.
Tribe, right? Camaraderie.
Right. Camaraderie in that sense, where if it builds camaraderie and shows you care without like making it all about the heart and the emotions. And
Right.
So like, here's another phrase I saw is like, hey, just checking in to see what you've been up to lately. How are you feeling? So how do you feel about asking people how they feel? Like, do you think that's a legit question?
I kind of asked that as a follow-up, because people would like tell me what happened, or like, oh, I got fired, or I talked to my boss. And then instead of me trying to give advice, I'm like, well, how you feel about that?
Right.
And it's just a nice follow-up just to go a little bit deeper.
What do you think about when you ask people, how do you feel? And then you add in the different, like you verbally say the different feelings that they could be feeling. Like almost like, hey man, how you feeling about that? Like, are you very distraught, or are you like, you're cool, or you don't care, or you're getting over it? And then you kind of give them the options out front.
Or you could say, it sounds like you're feeling a bit disappointed. Is that true? you know, and
it
then
sounds like you are feeling this way, and then they have to confirm whether they are or not.
Right.
So it kind of gives them like a barometer, like, oh, he thinks I'm feeling this way. Do I yes or do I no?
Right.
You know.
Right.
Got it. I thought this one was interesting. Another 6 phrases. Yo, what's been a highlight this week? Do you got any low points? Like, what's something that good that happened this week? And what was some low points? Obviously.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah. Why do you like this one?
Because, you know, when you catch up with someone, you don't want to hear like the average things that are happening. You want to hear the best things so you could like celebrate it. And then, you know, what's the not so good thing? So, you know, how I would answer this is like, oh, the best thing is, my company's doing really well right now, and, you know, it's in a good flow and things are happening. And then a low would be like, well, you know, my mom had some thing found in her breast, so I'm just a little bit worried about that. So,
right.
You know, it's like, okay, you know, makes it very human. I'm not just like, oh, yeah, I'm chilling. Things are good. How are you?
Right. Give me one good and give me one bad. And by, I think, starting off with the good, it means like, hey, let's start off on a positive note. Give me the good news first.
Like that.
But you want to know a low point. And by calling it a low point, I feel like that is a more disguised way of asking, like, did anything bad happen to you? But, you know, when you ask, like, Jack, if I looked at you in the face, be like, hey, man, did anything bad happen to you this week, Jack?
Yeah,
you're going to be like,
well, what?
Yeah, you're like, hey, calm down. What made you think that? You know, but, like, on just low point, what's, like, something you just didn't love?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a great one.
Here's one. Hey, man, do you need a vent or bounce ideas off someone? I'm here.
I like that.
What do you think about this? This sounds kind of like a businessy one, but it could lead to conversations about mental health.
Yeah. I mean, it's just holding space for someone without actually giving them advice right away, right? Like, you could just be like, I just want to listen to you. And if you want, I could share my reflections or my feedback. People sometimes just need to be heard.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like people don't want to vent unless you actually give them the green light to.
Which is kind of cool, too, because you don't want to vent on someone when they're like, not really wanting to hear all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially I feel like bros aren't venting all the time.
Right.
And if they do, it's very brief.
That's
but
right.
I feel like when you tell another dude or just a friend, whoever, even if it's a guy or a girl, it's just like, hey, like, I'm listening now. You can vent. You want to say you want to get something off your chest? Say it. Yeah. I'm here. You know, I might not have the right answer. I might not have all the answers in the world, but I'm gonna hear you out.
Right. And in that venting process, maybe you guys can go do something together, like lift, play ball, cut some wood, cook, you know, do something.
Here's another one. Looks like you've been handling a lot lately. How's that been going? So that's acknowledging that they have a lot on their plate.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, that's how you're kind of framing it. You're like, hey, you got a lot going on, right? And then they're like, you get something, yeah, I do have a lot going on. And you're like, how's it been going? And then they're like, and then it makes them scan and analyze it real quick and give it a grade like, well, it's been going well or hasn't been going that well. So I'm going to tell them.
Allows for them to reflect on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I mean, acknowledge that you have acknowledged their situation. Like, you have thought a little bit of like, hey, I kind of know you got some family stuff going on. I heard you got some work stuff going on. Like, how's that all been going for you?
Right.
So this is a little bit more specific. If you see a friend who's posting on social media some like very serious, solemn, maybe sad quotes constantly, you're just like, hey man, I noticed your IG stories. Like, yo, you've been posting a lot of that like serious stuff. Like, what's good? You know, or like, or what about like, is there a way to like jokingly be like, haha, man, what makes you post that?
Yeah, it's tough when you add in the jokes because I feel like that
it's not starting off on a serious note.
It's not starting off on a serious note. And I think a lot of times we use like jokes to like reflect and not really go so deep into the situations. But obviously it's a way we can just engage a conversation in the beginning.
Right. One last one is a little bit more specific, like especially if you've watched a podcast or you read a book or you listened to a summary of a book or you read some notes about, you somehow watch some type of, consume some literature or media about mental health and you'd like to share it with them. I sometimes I'll write summaries of certain podcasts or books that I listen to, and I just email them to my friends.
Yeah, I like that. I appreciated that when you sent some
Yeah.
email
I'll just email it to I email it to like, there's like 30 or 40 people on there that I like. I don't necessarily like, I'm not super close with, but I know they appreciate it. And I feel like, I'm like, oh, you guys would appreciate this. So like, I'm just like, hey, you should check out this podcast. It kind of says this and this and this and this, you know, or check out this clip, blah, 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 you know, and I just try to make sure they watch it. Obviously not everybody's always interested, but
yeah, but it's like 5 minutes of reading something and it's valuable, right?
And by the way, if you send somebody a clip and, you know, to them, it might be coming out of nowhere, you got to still write a little bit of a reason why you're sending it. Like if you text it to them or you email it to them, still just be like, oh, hey, like I just watched this podcast about like, managing stress. I thought it was pretty interesting because of blah, 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 blah. And then if they really don't want to watch it after that, then, you know, it is what it is. You can follow up or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I hope, and the reason why I want to make this video is because I just know, especially amongst Asians, but amongst probably all dudes to a certain extent, it would help if their friends knew how to broach the conversation. Because sometimes broaching this conversation, especially if you guys are like, you know, you guys are bros, you're just like hanging out together or having fun together, or you know, you're all gaming together, but you're not touching on these subjects. These are easy phrases to get that conversation going that don't feel intimidating, that don't feel like you're putting too much of a spotlight or pressure on them, and not like, oh, bro, I heard you're depressed. Like, what's going on? Tell me, you know, do you need a therapist? It's like, maybe you shouldn't even like recommend that right off the bat. You know, it can be a little bit forthcoming, right?
No, I'm with you. I think trying to find some sort of space to do it in where it's like feels kind of chill, but not so like, not a lot of pressure. In LA, there's these things called Jeffersonian style dinners, and you come together at a dinner and then everyone has a prompt. The prompt could be like business or it could be personal, and everyone listens to each other while they're sharing. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. One dinner I've been to, it was with older people and they did that. And there was like a moderator at the dinner. And that's like, man, that's like next level, man. I could imagine that being kind of awkward at a family party, because I think sometimes when you're just with family and you just see them as family, everybody's just there trying to like celebrate, let loose, have fun.
Right.
But then when you bring up that prompt, which requires more structure and somebody to lead that, it does kind of open it up extra.
Yeah, you know? And then you kind of hear everyone talk, and then the nerves are all gone.
Yeah.
I think the Jewish community has a thing called Shabbat dinner, which I've been to a few of them now, and it's like a lot of gratitude towards different people. And that level of gratitude, that depth, allows them to go deeper on other things, which I feel like the Asian community doesn't really have.
Yeah. Well, all right, everybody. These were chill ways to bring up mental health with your bros.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully it was helpful. Let us know if there's other ways that you've kind of broached the conversation. If maybe you've had any friends kind of approach you with any of these lines.
Yeah.
These are not the only things you can say, but essentially these are like the mental health pickup lines.
Yeah,
for
leave
your
a
bros.
comment, ask some questions, see what maybe we can address some of it.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Anyways, this is something that probably we'll touch on because especially, you know, I think the Asian American community and especially guys need some of these talks more often. So anyways, guys, check out Jack's stuff down below. You can follow him at his Instagram. But yeah, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, we out. Peace.